Welcome back from the break. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're still with us on NewsX. Our big story, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has embarked on a visit to the Afghan capital of Kabul for delegation-level talks with President Ashraf Ghani on bilateral ties, the stuttering Afghan peace process and other issues. A Pakistani statement said that Khan landed in Kabul on Thursday for his first visit to Pak's northwestern neighbor, where it has been facilitating peace talks between the government and the Afghani Taliban. Afghan Foreign Minister Mohammad Hanif Atmar and Ghani's special envoy for Pakistan Omar Dordzai received the visiting dignitary at the Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul. To decode this visit further, we have a special panel with us live. Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat, is joining us live. Major General Gigi Dwivedi, security analyst, is live with us. Sumit Peer, political commentator, is joining us live. Professor Madhav Narapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is with us live as well. Ambassador Sajanhar, let me begin with you first. How should we view this visit of Imran Khan, the first actually, since he's taken over as PM of Pakistan, to Afghanistan this week?
Absolutely. I think this is very notable that he's been in position since 2018, for more than 2.5 years that Imran Khan has been in position, and Afghanistan of course is a burning issue, but he has found time only now to pay his first visit to Afghanistan. I think basically what Pakistan must be very, very concerned with is, as you put it yourself, that the peace process is getting nowhere. And Pakistan realizes it full well that its relations with the Biden administration, which will take over on the 20th of January, it will depend, the litmus test for that will be as to how the talks in Afghanistan are going. Of course, the agreement was signed between the United States and the Taliban on the 29th of February, and it was hoped and expected that negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban group in Doha would resume soon thereafter. But it took several months. In fact, only in September did they make a formal beginning. And that also there has been no progress at all. So I think that must be something that is very worrying as far as Pakistan is concerned. I think another issue that Imran Khan might wish to take up is this whole, the case of the fake dossier that Pakistan has come up with. Shah Mahmood Qureshi came up with these documents saying that we have evidence of bank accounts and telephonic conversations and addresses and all that. But that has been completely rejected and junked by Afghanistan as soon as, it was brought to their attention. They had even gone to the extent, Pakistan has gone to the extent even of suggesting that the attack on the Peshawar school in December 2014 had been engineered by India, although even at that time, it was the Taliban that had accepted, that had taken responsibility for that attack. So maybe this is also an issue that Imran Khan would like to discuss and see if Afghanistan can be brought onto this side. I think he has, this is something that he is definitely not going to be successful in. But I think the basic purpose is to send out a message to the incoming Biden administration that Pakistan is there to help and support the talks and peace and reconciliation in Afghanistan going forward.
Okay. So clearly, of course, the peace process, the peace talks, Major General Dwivedi will be top of the agenda. But what else will figure, in your opinion and your perspective, in the talks between Khan and Ghani this week?
Well, Uday, I think as far as PM Imran Khan is concerned, he has threefold agenda. Firstly is to bilaterally keep ties with Afghanistan and also keep a close, finger on the pulse as to what's going on, and prove to the world and also to the American in particular that they are important stakeholders in the whole peace process. Secondly, also to prepare the ground and also see the groundswell, because Pakistan is very upbeat with Joe Biden coming as the next president, and they feel that they can retrieve the lost ground which happened during President Trump's time. So therefore, this again, and how Pakistan can help out further withdrawal of U.S. troops, and President-elect Joe Biden is quite keen that their further presence is sent out. And thirdly, also to ensure that India is kept marginalized, we do not gain ground, keep us at bay, and at the same time ensure that his all-weather friend China has also space to exert their geostrategic interest and possibly extend the CPAC into Afghanistan. So the interests are multifold, but in nutshell, Prime Minister Imran Khan effort will be to show to all these stakeholders that they have a key role to play and further consolidate their position and retrieve the lost ground which happened during President Trump's time.
But isn't it hypocritical, Sumit Peer, and double speak by Pakistan that on one hand they admit to Pulwama, on one hand they carry out terror attacks in India and other parts of the world, and then they are trying to broker peace, they are trying to talk peace in Afghanistan? Sumit.
Uday, what I see this is, the first thing what makes me, highly suspectable is the timing. Why is Imran Khan choosing to visit Afghanistan now on his first ever visit? And there is one person which is very ironically troubling me is Razak Dawood. It is his commercial advisor. On the face of it, it might look peace, talk straight. What is Razak Dawood doing there? What is his role? How do I see it? Because you see, Uday, there's a change of guard happening in US. So Afghanistan is not sure what will be the Joe Biden's exact policy in Afghanistan. How far will the withdrawal happen, and how far will the so-called peace treaty with Taliban hold water on ground? Let's not forget Pakistan already has 7,000 jihadis on the ground. So Imran Khan holds a lot of stumbling blocks to make it work or derail it. That's the point number one. And now the main pivot is that you see his foreign minister met Bangladeshi foreign minister. His ambassador in Bangladesh wanted a meeting with the Bangladeshi commerce minister. Now, exactly on the same lines, let's not forget China is the biggest investor in Afghanistan. And China has huge commercial interests in Afghanistan, like Azak, copper field, $88 billion worth of copper, $1.56 billion of, million barrels of oil, pipelines, oil and gas, biggest iron ore deposits in the world in Mazar Sharif. So there are a lot of commercial interests of China which are at stake. So now has Imran Khan, looking at the turbulent times and the change of guard, has he gone and met the Afghan president with his economic advisor? Is he trying to broker something for China on a one-to-one? Because Afghanistan has to decide with the change of guard in US, will it align to the Chinese camp or will it kind of go with the new US camp which is uncertain on its policies? So this is what makes me suspicious. He is there going to protect Chinese interests and broker something for China. It's beyond peace and beyond whatever he says. Because
what's in it?
What you rightly said, Pakistan's a double talk. They don't mean what they don't mean. What do they say?
What's in it for Pakistan, Professor Nalapat? Ghani, of course, had visited Pakistan last year. Imran hasn't for the last couple of years. What explains this visit? What's in it for Pakistan? What do you believe will come out of it?
Well, what's in it for Pakistan is very clear. And that is that they would like to once again ensure that Afghanistan is a satellite of the Pakistan military. It's a rare area for the Pakistan military, a reliable rare area where you can train jihadis and where you can, of course, for your clients, you can get economic and other benefits. So that is the objective of Pakistan. But let me say, Imran Khan is going there essentially on a mission to persuade the Ghani government to commit suicide. Because I have long said that once the Taliban enters the councils of government in Kabul, that is a death knell for the Afghan government. And that is a death knell for any talk about democracy in Afghanistan. I mean, we have had a lot of talk about Joe Biden and the medal he has got from Pakistan and the many times he has been to Pakistan. But the fact is that Joe Biden has also moved on. And he would have learnt a lot as vice president to Barack Obama. So the reality is, I think Imran Khan is a little nervous that the Biden administration will not be as credulous as the Trump administration. I'm sorry to say, Trump has done many good things, but among the many shameful things he has done is not just, some of things that are in the newspapers, but this entire surrender to the Taliban.
Correct.
And this, I think there are many people in the Biden group who are opposed to this kind of a precipitous retreat and of a running away, frankly, from Afghanistan. I think Imran is worried about that. So he'd like to lock the Afghan government into this surrender and make sure that they welcome the Taliban into their councils, which, as I said, is going to be a fatal blow. Of course, I also agree with Sumit and the general that Pakistan has made its choice, the army has made its choice. It's no longer loyal to the United States, it's loyal to China. In the United States, Pakistan diplomats are functioning effectively on behalf of China. As, I would say a very open fifth column on behalf of China. So obviously, yes, safeguarding Chinese interests will be there, but I think the Chinese are also pretty good at safeguarding their own interests. So I'm not very sure how. The important thing is to ensure that the Ghani government admit the Taliban into Kabul before Joe Biden, gets the reins of power firmly into his hands and realizes what a disastrous deal that Trump has signed with the Taliban.
Okay, just a bit of a larger perspective now, Ambassador Sajjanat, on this story. How should India view this visit by Imran Khan and these talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan? And how will the US also be viewing this dialogue?
A couple of things here, Uday, because these are very important questions that you've raised. Number one, as far as the United States is concerned, I think many of the people in the Biden administration are going to be those who were, in senior positions, even in the Obama administration. Of course, the lay of the land has changed. The geopolitics of the region has transformed over the last 4 years. But still the people there in the former Obama administration and now those who will be finding important voices and important places in the Biden administration, I think they would not like to leave Afghanistan completely to its own devices. So I think they would definitely like that fine, there needs to be a withdrawal, because after all, after 20 years or so, if you have not really been able to make a difference, and there is a considerable fatigue that has set in, not only in the United States, but also in the capitals, other capitals who have, particularly from NATO, Australia, etc., who have sent their forces and who are still there. So there is a fatigue. They would like to withdraw. But, as the head of the NATO said, Jens Stoltenberg, that it is we need to be there and move out in an orderly fashion so that, there is peace and tranquility and, a smooth changeover power into the hands of the Kabul government so that they are able to themselves take care of law and order and insurgency against them. So in that sense, I think he is, Mr. Biden and his team is going to be much more cautious. Now, this threat that Trump has placed that before the 15th of January, he's going to withdraw all the troops, only 2,500 there will stay there. I think that itself is, something like when Trump had come, he wanted to undo everything Obama had done. And right now, the sort of situation that he wants to leave Biden with in Afghanistan is that it will be very difficult for him to handle or deal with. But I think Biden administration will be quite keen to stay there so that Afghanistan does not blow up and does not fall into the lap of Taliban and by proxy Pakistan. And if it would do that, that would be a catastrophe. That would be cataclysmic as far as we are concerned. So I come to the first question, how does India view it? So India was present there when the Doha Agreement was signed on February the 29th. Our Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla was in Kabul on the same day, basically trying to show our support to the Afghan government. And we have always maintained that it should be an Afghan-owned, Afghan-controlled peace reconciliation process. Yes. So we will continue to stand with the Afghan government, with the Ashraf Ghani government, strengthen its hands in whatever way we can so that, it just doesn't roll over as had happened in the 80s when the support of the Soviets was removed from the governments there. They just crumbled.
Yep.
So that should not happen in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, stability and security is very important for us. Otherwise, what Pakistan is looking for is a strategic depth. That, they will be able to use all that territory, number
Yeah.
one, to train terrorists to send into India. Number two, that now that the terrorists will not be required to launch attacks against NATO forces, etc. in Afghanistan.
Yes.
All of them can be redirected towards India.
Yes.
So for us, peace, security, stability in Afghanistan is extremely important, and we can achieve that by working, strengthening the Afghan government in Kabul in any manner that we can, and working with regional partners, like we had the Central Asia dialogue with Moscow, with Iran, and others to strengthen that government.
Mijal Dwivedi, and there have been erstwhile senior officials of the Pakistan administration who have openly claimed that the ISI has done business in the past with the Taliban. So surely Afghanistan should see through Pakistan. Surely Afghanistan should not trust Pakistan, isn't it, sir?
Absolutely. In fact, Afghanistan has no trust or any kind of aspirations that they expect from Pakistan. They know that Pakistan is a spoiler and Pakistan is actually part of the problem. First point. Secondly, I think India needs to be more proactive and convince Americans that we have a role to play in stabilizing Afghanistan and also to checkmate the influence of Pakistan, who has always played a double game. At one side they are with Taliban, the other side they are with the American forces. We must expose this categorically to the administration of new administration in America. Third very important point is that we must sensitize Americans about the Chinese design, because Chinese, more they come in, more problems are going to be there, both for us and also for Americans. And short of boots on the ground, a lot can be done between the armed forces and the American armed forces. Now that we have 3 agreements in place, we have Lemoya, we have Kamkasa, we have Becca. With this, lot of direct non-kinetic military means can be very effective in stabilizing Afghanistan forces against Taliban. And my last important point is we got to keep our ear to the ground, because for us, Afghanistan is strategically very important, and we must ensure that Pakistan and Chinese role is kept to the minimal, and we must ensure that we have a role to play in this whole game.
Okay. Professor Nalapat, we must talk about the US role a bit more in detail. Ambassador Sajjanal was making some very valid points earlier. Interestingly, Donald Trump has taken that decision. The Pentagon confirmed, further withdrawal of US troops just earlier this week itself. There is this question mark about how the Biden administration is going to be tackling Afghanistan.
Well, I'd like to say that I think, all these scare stories about the Biden administration, I think they're going to be proved to be only scare stories. The problem is that even under Trump, there's been gross discrimination against the Afghan National Army. You have Pakistan-oriented elements there who have created some problems, a handful of them. But as a consequence, the Afghan National Army has not been given the resources needed to tackle the Taliban. And this is a problem. The Afghan National Army has to be provided the resources by the United States, by NATO, and frankly, both United States and other NATO partners, they seem to treat the Afghan National Army as some kind of as a second or third class status, and they don't ensure that it is brought to speed. Of course, given the correct weapons, the Afghan National Army can easily take on the Taliban. Now, the second point I'd like to say, Pashtuns. Look, I am very optimistic about Afghanistan because today the Pashtun community understands what the Taliban is. They have suffered under the Taliban when Bill Clinton went and pushed the Taliban into Afghanistan, into Kabul, the way Donald Trump is trying to do now. And I can tell you, the Pashtun population will no longer accept the Taliban. As of today, the Taliban administers around 13 to 15% of the total Pashtun population of Afghanistan. That's all. the Pashtuns realized what the Taliban is, and for the first time since this Carter and Reagan began using Pakistan and began incentivizing radical Pashtuns rather than moderate Pashtuns to fight the Soviets, the moderate Pashtuns are in the ascendant, and I can tell you that this time around, the Taliban will not be able to take over Afghanistan unless it's a surrender kind of takeover. And I just one last point. This what happened in Iraq. In Iraq, the ISIS came and took over because the Iraqi generals were all paid money by the certain certain interests which are well known to the Americans, and they've done nothing about it. And essentially, the Iraqi army was left without leadership. And this is what happened.
Yeah.
The Pakistanis would like a similar thing to happen in Afghanistan, and I do not think it's going to happen. Even Donald Trump's own people are fighting back.
Okay.
That's why he had to sack his defense secretary. And I don't believe Joe Biden is going to be the man who surrenders Afghanistan the way Clinton did and who creates the conditions for another 9/11.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that. We're out of time. My thanks to our guests for joining us, and thanks to our viewers for watching. Let's take a break. Much more ahead.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.